Every financial guru on the internet will tell you the same thing. Save $10,000. That's the magic number. That's when your life changes. That's when you stop being broke and start being financially stable. They're wrong. And I'm going to prove it to you with math, psychology, and the real-world experience of thousands of people who actually escape poverty. Here's what nobody talks about. $10,000 is not the number that changes your life. It never was. That number was invented by financial advisors in the 1990s, when $10,000 actually meant something. When rent was $400 a month and a used car cost $2,000. But the real number, the number that actually shifts your psychology, changes your behavior, and puts you on the path to wealth, it's $7,000. And I know that sounds random. I know you're thinking, why $7,000? That's such a weird number. But stay with me, because by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why $7,000 is the tipping point that nobody talks about. Why hitting $7,000 does something to your brain that $5,000 can't do and $10,000 doesn't improve upon. And most importantly, you're going to know exactly how to get there, step by step, dollar by dollar. This isn't motivation. This isn't some feel-good video about believing in yourself. This is the freedom formula, the actual math behind escaping the paycheck trap. And if you're currently sitting at $0 or $500 or even $3,000 and feeling stuck, this might be the most important 30 minutes you spend this month, because I'm about to show you why you're closer to financial freedom than you think, and why chasing $10,000 might actually be keeping you broke. Let's break it down. First, let me tell you where this $10,000 number came from and why it's completely outdated. In 1996, a financial planner named David Bach wrote a book about saving money. In that book, he talked about having $10,000 as your first major financial milestone. At the time, $10,000 was roughly 3 months of the average American's expenses. It made sense. But here's what happened. Every financial guru since then has just repeated that number, $10,000. Save $10,000. Your first dollar, 10K. It became gospel. Nobody questioned it. Nobody adjusted it for inflation. Nobody asked if it was even the right target. And now we have millions of people chasing a number that was invented 30 years ago for a completely different economy. Let me show you why this matters. In 1996, the average rent was $525 per month. Today, it's over $1,400. In 1996, the average car payment was $250. Today, it's $725. In 1996, $10,000 could cover you for 6 months if you lost your job. Today, $10,000 covers you for maybe 2 months. So why do we still worship this number? Because financial gurus are lazy. They copy each other. They repeat what sounds good. And $10,000 sounds better than $7,000 or $8,347 or whatever the real number should be. But here's the thing. The actual psychological tipping point, the amount of money that changes your behavior and sets you on the path to wealth, has nothing to do with round numbers. It has to do with what that money represents. And what $7,000 represents is something completely different than what $10,000 represents. Let me explain. There's a concept in psychology called the threshold effect. It's the point at which a small change produces a dramatically different outcome. Like water at 212 degrees, it's the moment everything shifts. For money, that threshold isn't $10,000. It's not even close. The real threshold is somewhere between $5,000 and $8,000 for most Americans. And when researchers actually studied this, When they looked at what happens to people's financial behavior at different savings levels, they found something fascinating. At $7,000, three things happen simultaneously. And this combination is what changes everything. The first thing that happens is what I call emergency immunity. Most financial emergencies in America cost between $1,000 and $5,000. Car breaks down, $2,000. Medical bill, $3,000. Emergency flight home for a funeral, $1,500. Job loss requiring 4 to 6 weeks of expenses, $4,000. When you have $7,000, you can handle any single emergency without going into debt, and you can handle most combinations of two emergencies. This means that for the first time in your life, you're not one bad day away from financial catastrophe. That might not sound revolutionary, but let me tell you what this does to your brain. When you live in constant financial fear, your brain operates in survival mode. Cortisol floods your system. You make short-term decisions. You can't think about next year because you're worried about next week. Your IQ literally drops by 13 points when you're stressed about money. This is not me exaggerating. This is a Princeton study. Financial stress makes you measurably dumber. But at $7,000, something shifts. Your brain finally relaxes. You stop operating from fear. And for the first time, you can actually think about the future. The second thing that happens at $7,000 is what I call opportunity vision. When you're broke, you can't see opportunities. Not because they don't exist, but because your brain literally filters them out. If you have $200 in the bank and someone tells you about a course that costs $500 but could double your income, you don't see an opportunity. You see a threat. You see something that could wipe out your savings and leave you vulnerable. But at $7,000, that same $500 course looks completely different. Now it's an investment. Now it's something you can afford to try. Now your brain registers it as possibility instead of danger. This is why broke people stay broke. It's not laziness. It's not stupidity. It's that their brain is wired to see threats everywhere. And it takes money to rewire that brain. $7,000 is the point where the rewiring happens. The third thing that happens at $7,000 is what I call identity shift. And this might be the most important one. When you have less than $1,000 saved, you identify as a broke person. You say things like, I can't afford that, or money is always tight, or rich people are lucky. These aren't just phrases. They're identity statements. You're telling yourself who you are. At $3,000 or $4,000, you start feeling a little better, but you're still nervous. You're still fragile. You still think of yourself as someone who's getting by. But at $7,000, something weird happens. You stop identifying as broke. You don't suddenly feel rich, but you feel stable. You feel like someone who has their life together. You start saying things like, I'm saving for, instead of I can't afford. And here's why that matters. Your behavior follows your identity. If you identify as a broke person, you make broke decisions. You spend money the moment you get it because what's the point of saving? Something will go wrong anyway. You buy cheap things that break and cost more in the long run. You avoid investing because that's for rich people. But if you identify as someone who's financially stable, you make different choices. You delay gratification because you can see a future worth waiting for. You buy quality things once. You start investing because that's what people like me do. $7,000 is where identity shift happens. Not $10,000, not $20,000, $7,000. This is the freedom formula. This is why everything changes at this specific number. Now let me show you exactly why $10,000 doesn't improve on this. Here's what the financial gurus won't tell you. The psychological difference between $7,000 and $10,000 is almost nothing. I'm serious. Once you hit $7,000, your brain has already made the shift. You've already achieved emergency immunity. You've already developed opportunity vision. You've already experienced identity shift. Going from $7,000 to $10,000 is just more of the same. It's nice. It's a bigger buffer. But it doesn't trigger any new psychological transformation. You know what does? Going from $7,000 to $25,000. That's the next real threshold. That's where you can quit a job you hate and survive for 6 months while you find something better. That's where you can put a down payment on a rental property. That's where real wealth building begins. But between $7,000 and $25,000, it's just accumulation. There's no magic at $10,000. There's no confetti. There's no shift. So why does everyone worship $10,000? Because it's a round number. Because it sounds good in YouTube titles. Because financial gurus copy each other instead of actually thinking. But you're smarter than that. You're here because you want the real formula, not the pretty number, not the guru-approved target. And the real formula says $7,000 is your first milestone. That's where you need to get as fast as humanly possible. So let me show you exactly how to do it. If you're starting from zero or close to zero, here's the exact plan to hit $7,000 as fast as possible. I call this the $7K sprint because that's exactly what it is. A sprint, not a marathon, not a leisurely jog. A full-out sprint to the first finish line. Before you save a single dollar, you need to stop losing dollars. And I promise you, money is bleeding out of your life right now in ways you don't even see. Here's what you do. Print out your last 90 days of bank statements, every transaction, every purchase, and highlight anything that wasn't absolutely essential to your survival. I'm talking about subscriptions. Netflix, $15. Spotify, $12. That gym membership you haven't used in 3 months, $40. Some app you forgot you subscribed to, $10. I'm talking about convenient spending. Coffee you could have made at home, $5 a day times 90 days equals $450. Lunch you could have packed, $12 a day times 60 workdays equals $720. DoorDash because you were too tired to cook, another $200. I'm talking about lifestyle inflation. The apartment that's $300 more than you need because the kitchen is nice. The car payment that's $200 more than a reliable used car would cost. The phone plan that's $50 more than a budget carrier. Add it all up. For the average American, this number is somewhere between $500 and $1,000. $500 per month. Money that vanishes without improving your life in any meaningful way. Cut it. All of it. For the next 6 months, you're in sprint mode. You're not living your normal life. You're building your first $7,000. Most people will say, but I deserve to enjoy my life. You know what you deserve? To not be one car repair away from financial disaster. You know what you deserve? To stop checking your bank account with fear in your stomach. You know what you deserve? To experience what $7,000 feels like. Everything else is a luxury you're borrowing from your future self. Cutting expenses gets you to maybe $400, $800 per month in savings. That's good. But at that rate, hitting $7,000 takes 10 to 18 months. Too slow. You need to increase income. And you need to do it immediately. Here's what I'd do if I was starting from zero today. First, I'd take inventory of my skills. Can I write? Can I design? Can I code? Can I talk to people? Can I lift heavy things? Can I drive? Can I fix things? Everyone has at least one skill someone will pay for. The question is whether you're selling it. Second, I'd add a second income stream within 14 days. Not a side business, not a startup. Those take months to generate money. I'm talking about trading time for money right now. Freelance work on Upwork or Fiverr, delivery driving through DoorDash or Instacart, weekend handyman jobs on TaskRabbit, tutoring, dog walking, lawn care. I don't care if it's below your dignity. I don't care if it's not your passion. Dignity doesn't pay rent. Passion doesn't fill emergency funds. We're in a sprint. Your goal in phase 2 is to add $500, $1,000 per month in extra income. Combined with your expense cuts, you're now saving $1,000, $1,500 per month. At that rate, you hit $7,000 in 5 to 7 months. Still too slow? Then let's accelerate. Here's where most people fail. They cut expenses, they add income, they start saving, and then they plateau. They hit $2,000 or $3,000 and suddenly expenses start creeping back. They've been working hard. They deserve a treat. One dinner out becomes 2. One subscription comes back. The intensity fades. Don't let this happen. Here's the mindset shift that keeps you in sprint mode. Every dollar you save is not a dollar you're denying yourself. It's a dollar you're paying to your future self. It's a dollar that buys you 1 minute of freedom, 1 minute of security, 1 minute of never having to stress about money again. When you see it that way, saving becomes addictive. Every dollar is a victory. Every $100 is a milestone. Every $1,000 is a breakthrough. Here's how to stay intense for 6 months. First, make it visual. Create a chart. Put it on your wall. Color it in as you save. Watch yourself climb towards $7,000. This sounds childish. It works. Second, create stakes. Tell someone your goal and the deadline. Make a bet. Commit publicly on social media. Give yourself a consequence for failure and a reward for success. Not a material reward, an experience, something that marks the achievement. Third, track weekly, not monthly, weekly. Every Sunday, look at your numbers. How much did you earn? How much did you spend? How much did you save? Are you on track? If not, what do you cut this week? This level of attention feels obsessive. That's the point. You're in a sprint. Obsession is the appropriate response. By month 5, you should be somewhere between $4,000 and $6,000. And this is where it gets hard, because you can see the finish line, and your brain starts relaxing. It thinks the race is won. It starts whispering, "You've done so well. You can ease up a little. Don't listen." The last $1,000 to $2,000 is the most important money you'll ever save, because it's the money that triggers the full psychological shift. It's the money that completes the transformation. $6,000 feels good, but $6,000 still feels fragile, like you could slip back at any moment. $7,000 feels different. $7,000 feels permanent. $7,000 feels like you've crossed a line and you're never going back. So push through. Keep the intensity high. Keep cutting. Keep earning. Keep saving. And then one day, probably 6 or 7 months from now, you're going to check your account and see $7,000. And everything will change. Let me tell you what's going to happen when you hit $7,000, because most people aren't prepared for it. First, you're going to feel calm. Not excited, calm. The constant low-grade anxiety you've been living with for years, maybe decades, is going to quiet down. You might not even realize how much stress you were carrying until it's gone. Second, you're going to start seeing opportunities everywhere. A certification course that could increase your income. A piece of equipment that could let you start a side business. A beaten down stock that might be worth buying. These opportunities were always there, but now your brain finally lets you see them. Third, people are going to treat you differently, not because they know about your bank account, but because you carry yourself differently. Confidence is visible. Security is attractive. Desperation repels opportunity. Stability attracts it. But here's the most important thing that happens after $7,000. You're going to face a choice. You can take this $7,000 and use it as permission to go back to your old life. Start spending again. Let the subscriptions creep back. Lose the intensity. Slowly watch your buffer shrink back down to $4,000, then $2,000, then $500. I've watched people do this. It's heartbreaking. They touch the promised land and then walk back into the desert. Or you can use $7,000 as a launch pad. You keep living lean. You keep stacking. You take $2,000 of your next savings and invest in a skill that increases your income by $10,000 a year. You take the next $3,000 and put it in an index fund. You take the next $5,000 and start building toward that $25,000 threshold where real wealth building begins. This is the choice, comfort or freedom, and you have to make it consciously. Because here's what most people don't understand. $7,000 is not the goal. $7,000 is the gateway. It's the point where you prove to yourself that you can do hard things, that you can delay gratification, that you can escape the cycle that traps 78% of Americans in paycheck-to-paycheck existence. But the transformation only sticks if you keep going. So let me tell you what the next year looks like if you choose freedom. Months 7 to 12. You maintain your $7,000 base and save another $6,000. You invest $3,000 in skills or tools that increase income. You put $3,000 into a brokerage account. Boring index funds. Nothing fancy. Year 2. You're now earning 20-30% more than you were 18 months ago. Your lifestyle hasn't inflated because you learned discipline during the sprint. You're saving $15,000 a year. Your investments are growing. You hit $25,000 in total savings. Year 3, you have options, real options. You could quit your job and take 6 months to find something better. You could put a down payment on a rental property. You could start a business with real capital behind it. This is the freedom formula. $7,000 is step 1, but it's the step that makes all other steps possible. Now, here's what I need to tell you. Most people watching this video won't do it. They'll watch the whole thing. They'll nod along. They'll think, that makes sense. And then they'll close the browser and go back to scrolling. They'll tell themselves they'll start next month, or after the holidays, or when things calm down at work. And in 6 months, they'll be sitting in exactly the same position, still broke, still stressed, still one emergency away from disaster, wondering why nothing ever changes. I'm not saying this to be harsh. I'm saying it because it's true, and because you need to decide right now which person you're going to be. Are you going to be the person who watches financial videos and does nothing, who collects information but never applies it, who knows exactly what to do but never does it? Or are you going to be the person who actually follows through? Who starts today, not tomorrow? Who hits $7,000 in 6 months and never looks back? The formula isn't complicated. Stop spending money on things you don't need. Earn more money by selling your skills. Save every dollar you can until you hit $7,000. That's it. The information is not your problem. Execution is your problem. Discipline is your problem. Following through when it's hard and boring and nobody's watching is your problem. And only you can solve that problem. No video can do it for you. No guru can do it for you. No app or course or book can do it for you. You have to decide that you're done being broke. Done being scared. Done living one bad week away from financial collapse. And then you have to act on that decision for 6 months straight without stopping. Can you do that? I think you can. That's why you're still watching. That's why you're here on this channel. You're looking for the formula, and now you have it. $7,000. Emergency immunity. Opportunity vision. Identity shift. Everything changes. So here's what I want you to do right now. Before you click away from this video, before you go back to your regular life, I want you to do one thing. Open your bank account, check your balance, write down the number. That's your starting point. That's day one. And then calculate how far you are from $7,000. If you have $500, you need $6,500. If you have $2,000, you need $5,000. If you have $0, you need $7,000. That's your target. That's your finish line. And from this moment forward, every financial decision you make is in service of that number. Every dollar you spend or save is either moving you towards $7,000 or away from it. This is the freedom formula. Not $10,000 like they tell you. Not some arbitrary round number invented 30 years ago. $7,000. The real threshold. The psychological tipping point. The number that changes everything. And when you hit it, 6 or 7 or 8 months from now, I want you to come back to this video. I want you to leave a comment. I want you to tell me and everyone else that you made it. Because here's what I know for certain. 6 months from now, some of you watching this will have $7,000 saved. You'll have crossed the threshold. You'll have experienced the shift. And you'll be on your way to real, lasting financial freedom. Will you be one of them? That's the only question that matters. This is the freedom formula. And now you know why everything changes after $7,000. I'll see you in the next one.